You are listening to the Cattle Call Podcast. This is the place where computer-aided design and drafting meets humor and practicality, with a touch of business acumen thrown in for fun. Jim and Rocco, the owners of Zentech Consultants, the premier U.S. technology consulting firm for architecture, engineering, construction, and manufacturing, discuss the fascinating world of CAD with some humor and some honesty. The Cattle Call Podcast. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Cattle Call Podcast with Jim and Rocco from Zentech Consultants. I am Jim, he of the never-ending verbiage, and with me is...
Good morning, this is Rocco.
Good morning, this is Rocco. That's his new name. Good morning, this is Rocco. It's what it says on his driver's license.
I don't know where, I don't know where you get all your adjectives from, but, I'm just a plain old guy, You come up with all these gregarious...
Ooh, look at you.
Exciting... fancy terms.
You can do it if you try. You're just lazy. That's my problem. I spend too much time reading. So, always have. It's always been my issue. So, all right. So, what are we doing today? Oh, so today we're talking about 3D and BIM for the field and how to get your data there. So, we've talked a lot on this show in the past about, the benefits of 3D and building information modeling or, BIM. And being able to digitally design and to locate and verify the constructability of real world objects, right? Before we order them and we get them on site, that's a huge benefit to the construction process, right? And another massive benefit that, the BIM process brings us is the ability to be able to field verify data and to make adjustments and predictions and even handle conflict checking out in the field, right? So there's a ton of reasons why having that full BIM and 3D model accessible to you field folks who are listening in is definitely going to benefit your company. And we've talked about that many times. So I'm not really going to pound that drum here again today. So I think instead I wanted to focus on more of the practical side of things, right? I want to talk about the best methods of getting that 3D data out into the field for your users in a manner that makes it usable, accessible, and of course, as always, affordable. All right, so Rocco, let's start with the importance of this topic to our listeners and to our clients. When you're on the phone with folks and we're looking at their BIM environment options, right, and what to do, is getting access to that data for their field staff a big concern for most folks?
Yeah, it is. It's becoming more and more important. I mean, just before we ran this podcast, I was reading an article about, the whole digital transformation in construction, right? And it's not only happening within construction and it's not only because of the pandemic, but, it's been going on in construction. I mean, this is one of the ways to automate a lot of the work that's being done to expedite the processes that are going on out there, and it's really important. We're looking for ways to automate, particularly in light of the shortages that there are in finding qualified skilled people. So this is just one of the important ways where it's becoming really important. Yeah. So it does come up for sure.
Yeah, I think in terms of shortages as well, right? And we're also facing right now a huge material shortage due to the backlogs in shipping and transportation. So, having that data, right? It used to be nice when you could just, order, 3,000 feet of lumber. Who cared? Right? Now, 3,000 feet of lumber, the price has almost tripled in the last year. So making sure you're getting the right sizes and the right cuts and the right, components, exactly what you need and no more, is really becoming a big thing. So this has really become a big focus, I think, in that construction world. So, at its base, the largest problem we face when we're trying to get this type of data out into the field is it's primarily file size. BIM models from dedicated design systems like Autodesk Revit they're absolutely amazing design tools. They do an incredible amount of stuff and have an amazing amount of information. But the big drawback is the immense file sizes and memory requirements to effectively use them. Look, it's really not uncommon at all for a Revit-based building to clock in at over 20 gigabytes in size. Even your desktop systems it's going to have to be a real workhorse system to deal with files of that size and complexity. Folks who are working in that environment daily spend a lot of money on their work systems, whether it's a laptop, desktop, whatever. They're high-end systems. So good luck if you're trying to get a file of that size to even open on a tablet that you're carrying out into the field. And you're going to be completely dead in the water trying to extract, sizing information or doing any type of conflict checking on a fully developed BIM model. It's just too big, too much data. Honestly, you can get away from that a little bit if you can get reduced down files that are showing you only limited systems, right? And nothing but the geometric and construction data, right? So if you can get folks to, hey, I just need the HVAC system, and they give you that as a file, or I just need the structural steel, and they give you that as a file. The problem is getting architects and engineers to put those files together for you, right? It means extra work on their part, and it's not usually something that they're getting paid for, so they're not really on board to help the GC or help out the trades on this. Even if their contract requires them to provide a BIM model, right? They usually just dump the massive model that they've used for their design out into the cloud, and then they call it a day. Right? But that's just not going to be usable for most people out in the construction world. So, Rocco, how do our construction folks feel about dealing with Revit-based BIM models? Do you get a lot of folks who are looking for better options for working with 3D in the field, or do they seem content with the Autodesk viewing and accessing options as they stand?
Oh, they're always exploring options, and a lot of folks don't want to get into the Autodesk world because of the high costs that are involved. And we all know that can be, enormous, but...
That's why we're not all wealthy like you.
Yeah. So it's definitely important, and they're exploring options. And a big concern, like you mentioned, is the file size. So that they're looking for ways to work around that file size issue.
Yeah. Yep. So I the Autodesk stuff works really well with the Autodesk products, right? But it is all a proprietary structure. I think kind of the good news here on the BIM front is that there have been a lot of new CAD and BIM software companies that have been making a concerted effort to kind of move away from the behemoth file sizes and the overkill data of those proprietary Autodesk RVT Revit files. And you've got systems out there like BricsCAD BIM and Civil Site Design and Bluebeam and others that have been actively working with open source file formats and smarter systems that dramatically reduce the 3D file sizes down to something that's much more manageable in the field. Like BricsCAD BIM, right? For example, right? That uses a industry standard IFC that's non-proprietary. They use that IFC format for their BIM models, right? It's just contained inside of a standard DWG file. So, that produces really nice, highly detailed 3D models with BIM information, but with a dramatically reduced footprint in terms of file size. In general, right? The equivalent BricsCAD BIM file, they're roughly 25 to 30% of the size of the same exact data in a Revit file. And that is a huge plus. That's a 70% shave off your file size. That's huge. And I think the Civil Site Design, right? That's an amazing system for site and subdivision and road 3D designs. That not only reduces the file size substantially, just at its base level, but it has this really cool system built into it, right? Where it handles all of the 3D processing and storage and BIM data external to the DWG file as you work. Right? And then it bundles it back inside the drawing if you want to share that to someone. So you want to send, I want to send Rocco the drawing file. I just bundle it up, send it over to him. And when he opens the DWG, it automatically kind of re-extracts, if that's even a word, the data, externally on Rocco's system or whatever destination system you send that to when they open it. Think of that like kind of like using your drawing file as an automated zip file, right? And those are the kind of changes that I think can really help make these BIM designs much more acceptable and usable for field personnel. Rocco, do we see a solid response from clients on our BricsCAD, BIM, and CSD stuff? I mean, I know they're primarily design tools, but do we see interest on both the design and the construction sides of the house?
We do, and particularly from the 2D end. There's a steady level of interest in 3D, but a lot of folks are looking for ways to work with a 2D construction documents, and with a simpler, less expensive tool, and that's why we talk about BricsCAD a lot here, right? And it's again like you say, it's not the only option, but it's what we sell and support and train on. One of the products we sell and support and train on here at Zentech. So.
Okay. And so you're still seeing a distinct difference, right? More of those folks are still focused on 2D on the construction side rather than the 3D?
I think so, yeah.
Okay. All right, fair to say. All right. So I tell you what, let's take a quick break here so we can listen to today's sponsor. And then when we come back, I want to get into some of the cool tech out there. Kind of forgetting your 3D and BIM files is what I was trying to say. Out into the field, all right? So we will be back in just a few minutes, folks, with more of the Cattle Call Podcast. All right, Rocco, so we are sponsoring ourselves yet again today. What is it we want to talk about?
We're going to talk about me today, Jim.
No one wants to talk about you, not even you.
Oh, fine. Let's talk about Zentech Tech Blocks.
Awesome. I like Zentech Tech Blocks. Zentech Tech Blocks are prepaid support hours that let you call on Zentech's experienced technical staff to address all your support questions, problems, help you with workflows and standards, really anything you need on the technology side. We're here to provide the support you need so that your most talented people aren't being dragged into helping everybody else in your company instead of working on the billable jobs that you need them focused on. All right. So Zentech Tech Blocks are available in multiple sizes. We sell them in 5-hour, 10-hour, 20-hour, and 40-hour prepaid support blocks. And if you're interested and you need that sort of help, Rocco, how do they reach out to us?
Yeah, hit up our website, zentechconsultants.net. Give us a ring, 866-824-4459, or even drop us an email, sales@zentechconsultants.net.
All right, Zentech Tech Blocks, the vital support that your people need exactly at the moment that they need it. All right, everybody, welcome back to the Cattle Call Podcast, where we are talking about working with 3D and BIM information out in the field and the best ways to get it there. Now, one of the absolute best ways that I've come across to work with this info on the construction end is with the concept of the 3D PDF. And don't worry if you've never heard of that before. I'm always shocked by how many of the people I work with on this topic who have no idea that there is such a thing as a three-dimensional PDF file. There are a number of systems out there for creating and viewing these files. I mean, I think Adobe has one, and some CAD systems have some limited capability to generate some simple views of 3D data into a PDF format. But honestly, the best tool that I've come across is one that most of you guys listening probably already own. Bluebeam Review. Yep, good old Bluebeam Review. It integrates into your CAD system or your designer's CAD systems, and it gives you the ability to print full 3D PDFs that are as small as 3 to 5% of the original model size. Okay? And these can be opened and viewed and rotated in a true 3D environment right inside of your PDF. You don't need any special software or downloads to view and work with these 3D PDF files. Standard, everyday Bluebeam works just fine with these. It gives you all of those features. So it's really impressive. And I know, Rack, I know we've done a couple of presentations on the web on 3D PDFs and how to use them for field work and so on. What's been the construction world's response to the concept of the 3D PDFs, and where can listeners check out the webinars that I did?
Yeah, we actually do get, like, we have a webinar that we've done, bring Revit models to the field with Bluebeam, and we've gotten, a lot of people looking at that webinar for in particular, for example. So yeah, we have a whole on-demand series of webinars that you can pull up, either coming up live or on demand, and you just hit up our website at zentechconsultants.net. And you'll be able to check it out. Just
Yeah.
there's a whole slew of Bluebeam webinars that
Yeah.
we've done. So
You can also catch our YouTube channel as well. We have a YouTube channel, so you guys can catch a whole ton of videos out of there as well, particularly on that Bluebeam stuff.
yeah,
Um, so yeah, like I said, I think it's just an amazing thing, for the contractors to use out in the field. It's just such a nice little tool. So, but one other thing I guess that I wanted to point out on the 3D PDF front is that these files are more than just a static viewer. Okay, meaning hey, it's cool if you can open up and look at things in 3D. That's great, but these do a lot more than that, right? You can create your own saved views, right, at different angles and locations in your design. You can turn building components on and off, right, to isolate and look at how systems are reacting to each other. You get detailed BIM data from these files, right? And you can even do things like add photos and markups, at their real world locations. So if you think about it, I mean, it really means that, if you're out in the field, right, and you need to get some information on, let's say, a window that you're installing for the third floor atrium, right? You can zoom into that location, isolate the window on screen, right? Have it tell you what the rough opening size of the window should be, what are the glazing details for this window, right? And then you can go in and you can add comments and RFI data and even photos of what the actual opening is, if it's wrong or if there's a problem, right? And you can share all of that with the owners and the designers and so on, the architect, whoever, for clarification. Right? And best of all, I think because the 3D PDFs are so small and easy to work with, you can handle all of this with a simple tablet or a 2-in-1, right out on the construction site. Right? You don't have to worry about those super mega computers you have to deal with, the big Revit files and such. And I think that the other great part of this is that because you're using Bluebeam, right, you can use their built-in Studio, the Bluebeam Studio file collaboration system, so that all of these files can be stored in the cloud for later access or even shared and worked on, right, kind of in real time between the field and the office. So not only just, sometimes you don't even have to do an RFI. Sometimes you can just pull the architect up online and say, look, let me show you what I'm doing while you're out on a tablet out in the field. Right? And he can mark it up and check and verify things for you and answer those in real time while you're standing out on the building site. I mean, and that's the kind of functionality that I think we're all really needing from this 3D BIM structure. So Rocco, I mean, are you seeing a lot of interest in the construction world on that Bluebeam Studio piece, their collaboration tools, particularly as it relates to the 3D and the BIM stuff?
oh yeah. I mean, it's huge, and the greatest benefit of Bluebeam Studio is that it's free. I mean, you're already getting it
Ooh, I like free.
with each license of Bluebeam, huh?
I like free. It's my favorite price.
Yeah. I mean, and Jim, you can explain how how it works for folks who don't have who don't have Bluebeam, but we're seeing more and more folks taking advantage of the Studio component.
Yeah, no, it's a huge thing. I mean, the real benefit of that is that like I said, if you have a license of Bluebeam, you can invite up to 500 people who don't have licenses to access your files, right? So it's just one of those things where you only need one license to kind of load it up there, and then you can use the apps from the tablets and so on, or download the free versions of Bluebeam, and people don't have to buy licenses and invest a lot of money to be able to access and work on your jobs and share files and add comments. Really, really powerful stuff. And like you said, it comes as part of your system. So pretty much if you have Bluebeam, you have this. And if you're not if you haven't been using Studio to get this 3D data for yourself out to the field, you're missing out. It's something you already own and you've paid for, so you might as well use it. So.
And we've done some webinars on Bluebeam Studio as well that you guys can check out.
No doubt, yes. Same locations, right? They're all up on the YouTube channel or off our website. So, I mean, that concept, I think, of file hosting, right, is a really big consideration for field access of really any data, but I think it's vitally important for these large BIM data files. And like I said, we're talking about Bluebeam Studio, but there are a lot of other players and tools out there for sharing and hosting these files. Autodesk has its own BIM 360 and Construction Cloud service. They keep changing the name every 3 days. I don't know what they call their construction one now. And that works really, really well with their proprietary, Revit BIM models. It really works nice with that. And you also have systems for construction management out there, right? Tools like Procore, right, which host both, CAD and BIM files for easy access and viewing, right, using just your web browser. The one caveat to that is, sadly, most of these construction management systems are still lacking on the 3D PDF support. Most of them don't have it. So if any of you guys listening out there are developers for those systems, y'all need to step up your 3D PDF game, folks. Right? This is something we all want. And I think even when you're working and doing your cloud hosting for these large files with a generic system like SharePoint or Google Drive or Dropbox, etc., that works. It's a necessity, right, to be able to share it in the field. And you're seeing that there are more and more plugins available for accessing this data, using your basic browser tools, right? So you don't have to have a separate install. But I think, I will say at this stage, most of those, I guess, browser-based viewers, they're just that. They're viewers. They really don't give you much in the way of the BIM information or the measurement and class detection features and the markup features. It's just for visualizing and so on. But if that's all you need, if you're really looking to do is give your people the opportunity to just pop open a 3D model, do a quick visualization, even those, they can be really, really useful tools. And if it's your kind of gateway into this 3D BIM environment, that's not a bad way to go at a reasonably low price point. Rocco, what's the breakdown on our clients, right? Who uses the generic file versus the dedicated 3D BIM tools like Bluebeam? Which do you find is more common, kind of like in a general contractor versus a trade contractor and so on?
I think a lot more folks are using Bluebeam, but to be fair, we're Bluebeam partners, right? So we obviously do a lot of training and consulting and Bluebeam sales. So we get a lot of folks that are using the product. So that's why we talk to a lot of them. So like you say, it's not the only tool out there, but I think we see more, and even on the trade contractor end, right? I mean, we work with a ton of folks that are doing, for example, structural steel work, and so they're using Bluebeam. So I think it's the scale's a little bit tip more on the Bluebeam end because of the fact that we're Bluebeam partners.
That's a fair statement. I hadn't really thought about that, right? It's like, if you work in a restaurant, you're going to talk a lot more to people about food than if you work, for an accountant. It makes sense. It's a fair statement, I guess. Like I said, I just about everybody we deal with, we're always talking about Bluebeam as the big thing. And we're finding, I see, you're kind of allowing for that reality. Not a lot of people in this day and age are I still see a lot of people who are using, basic, file sharing on SharePoint or Dropbox or whatnot. But most of them find real quickly that it's just not sufficient to their field needs. It's, I tend to, that's what I'll call business focused, right? Lawyers use it, doctors use it, accountants use it. Business people use that, and it's kind of meant for them. And construction is an entirely different beast. We have our own way of working. We have our own language. We have our own needs and our own processes.
And we interact with a wider base of folks. You know what
yeah.
I mean? Like it's like some of the business people that you just mentioned. I mean, a lot of them work in their own intranet. You know, they're not working with folks so much like in a collaborative manner like folks within our fields do.
Yeah, if they're doing it at all, right? They're like I said, they'll set up those business people will set up that file hosting for, we've got Office A in California and Office B in Dallas, and we want to be able to mix and match files, but we all do the same thing, working for the same company, and once in a while we may have to throw something out on the cloud for a client to review. Yeah, you're right. That's kind of their limit of using those cloud interactions for most of those guys. Whereas in the construction world, it's just nonstop. 30 times a day, we're talking to the architect, the planner, the plumber, the engineer, the owner, the town, the permit coordinators. Everybody's mixing and matching and opening and updating these files. So, yeah, that stuff all comes into play. Good point. So, all right. So, actually, I think that covers everything I wanted to cover on this topic. Rocco, anything else you want to throw in there?
I'm good to go.
You're good to go. I'm good to go. We're all good to go. So we're going to go. So let's get out of here. And we will catch all of you next time on the Cattle Call Podcast. All right, everybody. Today's Cattle Call was brought to you courtesy of Zentech Consultants. That's Rocco and I. Zentech Consultants works with design and manufacturing firms to help our clients purchase and implement the software that they need in these complex industries. We provide a single point of contact for clients to buy, develop, and learn the most vital software systems for your specific needs. Zentech strives to be your trusted technology partner from your initial needs all the way through long-term support and training for your entire staff. So Rocco, why don't you tell them how to reach out to Zentech?
All right, yeah, you can reach out to us through zentechconsultants.net. You can email us at sales@zentechconsultants.net. Or you could even call us, 866-824-4459.
Excellent. We look forward to hearing from y'all.